Welcome to For Comics Sake. How is everybody? Today is a Monday, August 5th, 2024. I had a bit of addiction, but then I lost it. And it's usually just me musing about comic books and why we do them and how incredible of a medium they are. And that is all very true. Comic books aren't here to get us rich, although some people do become rich. But it is really for the love of comics from beginning, middle, and end. And tonight, I can't think of anybody who loves comics more. And my co-partner in crime, the magnanimous, magnificent, well-rounded beast of a human being, William Perdomo.
Thank you.
My co-host is here.
I appreciate that. That's a great introduction.
Yeah, and on top of that, we have another juggernaut who's been around for a while, man. Like, I would say I've known about PHILL for about 5 years or so, when the first Lost Pages was coming out. And he really put his ear to the grindstone, feet to the pavement. Anybody who liked one of his posts, he reached into your DMs and asked you to back and contribute and love his work. And he really did go hard. And I can really appreciate that. A businessman amongst businessmen.
Hey,
Phil D, man. Phil Diaz. So it's pretty amazing. Yeah, man. You're still knocking at Comic Book Store 5 years later. And your latest venture is the Psycho Slumber, which is a crossover with the Kill Journal and Lost Pages.
Yeah, dude, guys, thanks for having me, man. I've been loving what you guys are doing over here too, and it stinks because our times overlap with my weekly stream. But
do they? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to do that. That wasn't on
it's all
purpose.
good. There's not enough time in the week or day for all the things that we want to do. But I'm so glad you guys are having me on. We can talk about some comics, what I love talking about.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, we do thank you. So, Will, go ahead and take over and tell us who's in the chat. And
first, I would say hi to everybody. And let's start with number bastards. 1.
Dirty
Alex
bastards.
She's going to show up anyway, despite being up all night. And then the big boss man, Tokume. What up, sir?
Tokume.
Craig Zablo's got an early morning, but he loves to say hello anyway.
Hi, Craig.
Sly. There's one I haven't seen in a while. Rick Saylor. Welcome back, buddy. How you doing?
Rick. Hail.
New person in the chat. Awesome one. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
I'm here.
Paulus Arts. Oi, in it. And I haven't seen you, but thank you for coming. You must be a raider. Admiral Wackass. Welcome, sir.
Admiral.
Well, you did. Awesome one. Should we add that to the board? Alanis Morissette on a skateboard?
That's insane, man. Come on.
Or should we keep the rules?
The rules are is that you have to do it in the suggestion and on Twitter. Okay. So you should go follow me on Twitter, and every Monday have to jump through doggy hoops to get
got away on a technicality
on a skateboard. So yeah, man, I guess I did. So you guys are just trying to break me, is what I think's happening.
That's why they suggest a lot of anime characters just to mess with
you fucking psychos, man. Can I just do something easy for once? Like you bastards. Like Sly was I really enjoyed doing Sly last time. That was definitely in my wheelhouse. And it made me happy to not have to think, right? To do it. I don't ever like when I don't have enough time to kind of master how a character should feel to me. And it sucks because I'm kind of blowing it out. You scum. I love Gordon Goodbrother. I promise everybody in the chat, I'm getting everything together finally. I put myself on a schedule because
yes,
I have to. and I have it right here. It's awesome. Like, I literally made Will, like, I told you, Will, you bastard. I go, I need to write a schedule. I go, and I have a problem with being accountable. So I
I've got
need
a
you.
whiteboard. I mean, I'm sure Phil does it too. We all got the whiteboard we got to get cleared off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I was
schedule,
like,
man.
I'm easily getting distracted and I hate this and I need somebody to help me be accountable. And I was like, I have to do a schedule. And if by 3:00 today I don't have a schedule, you need to call me out on it. And he was
And
like,
you did it. I didn't have to call you and bother you.
no, it didn't have to call me within, like, I guess, what was it, an hour.
Mhm.
I made sure I'd gotten it and took care of it. And Crager's QuickBooks. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm trying, man. So I just need to
Say hi to
do
Moromi
this.
while you're at it.
Hi, Maromi.
Thank
Hi.
you. And Marco
Sorry.
as
Hi,
well.
Marco. Hi. Hi, Alex BRB and Seth and Gordon, Tokume and
Maromi.
Maromi.
And of course, you already shouted out Gordon Goodbrother, but you know.
Yeah,
Hello.
because he rules. Because he's
He
a good
does.
guy. I like Gordon. I've always liked Gordon. He seems
I
like
mean,
he's a
if
really
he just
nice
shows up
guy.
and watches the show, he's already got my
Well,
he's already endeared himself to me.
I've had interactions with Gordon before, and he loves some of the same things I do, which is awesome. Like Mark Beecham, like he loves Mark Beecham, and I don't blame you because he's awesome.
My mushrooms aren't kicking in right now. My brain's still slow.
This awesome one wearing a coonskin cap in his avatar. I don't know what that means. I have one. I have a like weird fluffy winter hat that I like to wear.
So, should we do the Wheel of Coom before we get started yapping at each other?
Yeah, I suppose, man. Get me started.
All right, let's do the Wheel of Coom. Are you ready? Are you ready, Mr. Diaz?
I'm ready.
Okay. Let's do
Fine.
That's awesome.
Get over here.
There we go. Something traditional.
Big guy and Rusty the Boy Robot. Oh shit.
There he goes. Come on. I mean, it's better than, like, I don't know, fucking Berserk or something.
It is.
Yeah, big guy's tight.
Well, Maromi, welcome. You win today.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you for something traditional as opposed to, again, like something goofy from the Far East that he'd have to dig in deep to do.
Yeah, we'll look up a bunch
like
of cartoony references.
Give me a minute. I gotta see if I have actual reference like here. Like, give me a second.
I used to have an action figure of him, I'm pretty sure.
So how did Adam Shanghai you into this crazy venture to do a crossover? Like what did he do? What van did he use to lure you in?
Yeah, so oh man, I guess this was last year around C2E2 time, so it must have been like April. And because I specifically remember him calling me up on the phone while I was loading in arcade games into a truck to take to C2E2, and he just pitched me the idea of doing a crossover with the Kill Journal with one of the Lost Pages characters. And we had talked for years since we know each other just through the internet and streams and stuff, and always been very cordial with each other and friendly and really love the same things. And I could see, he's one of the most passionate guys about comics. Like, there's a handful of guys that you listen to talk about their book and creating books and reading other people's books, that it just gets you hype about the whole process and wanting to do more, create your own thing, and inspire that motivation in others like he does. So I thought it was an awesome idea, and I think he originally pitched teaming up the Silhouette with inside of a Kill Journal book crossover, and I thought that Crim in particular would go perfect into like a slasher type scenario story wise, because you have this character that is inside the mind of, you know, Jasmine, who's, you know, the hero, the avatar that's on our plane, and then her imaginary friend is on this otherworldly, you know, imagination plane, and doing sort of like a Freddy Krueger type villain who could go into people's minds and imaginations. And that was kind of the nail in the coffin of like, oh yeah, we got to do this. This like works too well, you know?
I mean, how could you get a word in, right? If you're dealing with Adam, so you're saying like I've never seen someone so passionate. Well, you have no choice with Adam. You're gonna feel his passion, you know, whether you like it or not.
That's very true.
And no, he is not on coke. He's on life.
No, he's so passionate about stuff, and he's so in the like interlaced in with the movie industry that's just his personality. I've met his wife, and I had to ask her. I mean, I asked her, does he wake up like this? And she's like, yeah, he does. He does.
He's like exhausted while asking you.
It's like, good Lord, really? Yep, he sure does. I go, does he barely sleep? Yep. Okay.
This seems like 2 hours a night.
He's a hard worker, that guy. He's always on. I had the pleasure of hanging out with him. He was out here for a commercial shoot a few months ago, and took him out and got some pizza and stuff, and just sat down and hung out. We also went to a comic shop a couple days after that. Yeah, it was an awesome time.
Are you in Chicago proper, Phil, or are you like on the outskirts of it?
Yeah, I'm about 20 minutes from the heart of the city, so I'm like right on the outside. I guess you.
So you're a city boy.
I mean, I've lived very close to the city my whole life. I've gone to the city, you know, numerous. I love the city. I don't go as much as I used to, just because of everything in the last 15 years. You know how because you got to get through the bad parts to get to the good parts of the city.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but the arcade is right outside the city. It's about 20 minutes.
One of my favorite filmmakers and probably one of my greatest influences is from Chicago, even though he kind of switched his backgrounds to LA. But his first film, I'm sure you know what I'm going to say, but his first film was in Chicago, which was Thief, which is Michael Mann.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you know Michael Mann.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I'm sure when you watch Thief and you see that, you know, that kind of that rat in the maze look, and also The Dark Knight, which is basically a Heat rip, not a Heat rip off, but a Heat echo.
Yeah.
You know, you see that, you know, like in Thief, you know, at night where he wets down the ground and it looks like the city has a cap on it, you know, because of the high building, all those canyons of buildings. So at night, it has a very interesting look. It almost looks like a snow globe in a dark room.
Yeah, dude, I have very like romantic relationship with the city. Like it is still when I drive past, or like just this weekend, I went out of town and I drove to Kentucky, and I had to drive past the skyline on the way out. And it's just awe-inspiring still. Like it is so awesome. And my girlfriend gives me shit all the time because I'm like, look, there it is. There's Sears Tower and everything. I always take a picture of it. She's like, you're such an idiot. But
maybe it's too dangerous to do this, but I don't know. Do you ever, I mean, I don't even know what your schedule is or what your clock is attuned to, but do you ever go just driving at night, like on the freeway around the city? Just
yeah, I used to all the time. Yeah. When I was single, I used to do that a lot. Like, you know, it's just a really nice drive, and especially, dude, at nighttime. And I don't know if they still have this, but they used to do horse carriage drives downtown at night. I'm not sure if they still do, but that's super nice. But yeah, the lights and everything downtown, it's beautiful.
And I'd say for guys like us and Crager as well, because Crager and I are from, well, Crager's not from LA. I am. He's from, I think, did you grow up in Orange? You didn't grow up in Orange County, Crager, right?
I did. I grew up in Orange County for the most part. So Huntington Beach, Westminster, and Anaheim, and then Cypress. So that's all Orange County. But then I lived like in Champaign Urbana for a year and a half or something like that. Back,
Really?
I used to live right below Chicago.
That's crazy.
I had to drive up to Chicago to do a couple of things one time, and I had to drive through the what they said was the bad part of Chicago. And although it was 20 years ago, it didn't seem too bad to me. So, but things could change. So I drove through there no problem. I never had any problems going to Chicago or doing any of that stuff. But it is what it is, man. So if things have changed and it really is that bad.
Well, the thing that I don't like, the last decade has just been a lot of protest stuff. And that's the stuff that's like, I'd rather deal with bad part of Chicago and then driving through, because I would drive through the south side to get to the heart of the city all the time. And during the daytime, it's fine.
Is that true, Phil? Hyper Potato?
20 years ago, there was a good part of Chicago.
It was actually really nice, man. Like I'd stayed in a couple really nice places in Chicago, and I come from like the LA area, man. So
where
I'm on
sprawled.
But I've been down in the ghetto. I ain't scared of that shit, man.
Yeah, but you and I are not used to that concentration of skyscraper and steel.
Oh, that did fuck with me. Okay, going to Chicago, where literally you could walk the streets all day and never feel the sun on you, like because the buildings blot out the sun
and make a microclimate almost.
It's fucking, and I've been there in the middle of winter when it's like fucking freezing. And just not fun. It's not fun to walk around Chicago when it's that cold. Just go find a place to go hide and drink. Like that's about as good as that's gonna get when you get there like that. But yeah, I loved it for the time period it was in. And because I'm an LA boy, Orange County guy, I never had any issues. I was always told not to go somewhere, and then it was like, you guys are joking. You just don't know how to deal with people. So whatever. But yeah, that's cool. If they have a bunch of fucking crazy fucking activists that are like taking over whole roads and shit like that, that could be really shitty if you're trying to get to work.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just don't want to deal with all that crap. And it's funny when Adam and I went to a shop downtown, and it was on the north side, there was all the roads were blocked off for some like parade, some like midsummer parade. It was hilarious because we had to park on very far from the place and just meet and walk up.
It's very old, like that place. It feels like everything was built like 100 years ago, and they're like they didn't think about streets. And you're just trying to find your way around the place is a pain in the ass. Yeah, dude, it was such a pain in the ass being there. It was easier to take a taxi.
It's funny that you say like they didn't know how, where to put the streets or whatever. Famously, the city was raised, like they jacked the whole city up to create. And someone said in the chat, there's a second level.
Hey, Angela, welcome.
There's like an undercity, and you could look up historical photos of people jacking buildings up with jacks to raise the city.
Does not surprise me. So
awesome one said the gay parade, Phil.
It was. I mean, I didn't say it, but
that's okay.
It was on the north side, so it was a festival.
I mean, was Chicago was a haphazard city? It looks like. I mean, it seems it was a planned city.
I mean, I'll look up the reason why they jacked it, but
it's weird.
What I mean, like, is it all kind of goofy and jacked up in terms of the streets, or is it kind of a grid?
no, it's very.
We're talking about Chicago, Angela.
Yeah.
No, it's not a like uniform grid like that you would think all squares like this, where there's streets A, B, C, D, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. Not at all. Okay,
Yeah,
it's all diagonal
shit.
Yeah, they didn't have like what blocks were, and then there's diagonal shit, and some shit's only one way, and then you had to go around the lakes and shit like that, and they built vertically, like perfectly, okay, like, and then when that shit got knocked down or shit got burnt down back 100 years ago, they just built bigger shit over the top of that shit.
I think we should shut up because Alex has the right answer. Chicago was planned, but the shootings are spontaneous. So we don't need to talk about this anymore now because he had the answer.
Okay, very good.
So in the 1850s, they installed new sewer systems to accommodate drainage, so they jacked the city.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Now we know.
That's crazy.
Amazing. I am somewhat stumped on drawing this, and I'm not happy with it. So I'll try
It's rusty.
Yeah, it's rusty, but I want to get some of the foreshortening better, at least. Like it should at least look decent. Yeah, I wanted to have him flying. Maybe his ears are a little bigger too. It's
adorable.
Yeah, I want him to look adorable. So I just know the foreshortening's wrong because I need to look at his body as like a pillow, is what I need to do.
Oh yeah,
because that's what he's really thinking. Like when he's drawing it, I'm sure, because this is like an animation body if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, they had a cartoon when I was young of these guys, and they did action figures and shit.
Oh yeah, you're a youngin'. You're one of those youngins.
One of them. Not anymore. Yeah. I'm 30 now. I'll be 31 in September.
Oh, 30. He's 30. You're still 20 years younger than me. So, wow, yeah, that's why I can call you a youngin'. I could have birthed you, Phil.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. You could be my boy. My boy, Phil.
I'm everybody's boy.
You're everybody's boy. My boy, your pony boy.
Let's see. It's more
Stay gold.
Horror. Angela says Phil has an old soul. I haven't heard that in a while, but I used to get that a lot.
Oh man. I think it's going back to what we're talking about. I guess the reason I was asking that is that, when you, it's amazing how much that kind of informs us as writers and as creatives being from these cities, because I'm not sure what the prevailing, culture is in Chicago, but being from LA, Crager and I anyways, come from a city of tribes where it's whole nations that take up, massive amounts of real estate in the city. You go to Armenia town, you go to Chinatown, you go to Koreatown, go to the black ghettos, you go to the barrios, and they're as big as any other city in the United States. These little islands of ethnicity.
That is true. There's like whole areas where they just sell like rugs and fucking like shit on kebabs.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty brutal. It's cool though, because like if you know your way around and like what you're looking for, you can get whatever you want because there's so much cool shit out there.
Or like or like a city as character, Like I think a good one that comes to mind is Collateral, where the city is like a character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's for sure.
where every one of those hits was in a different part of Los Angeles, all the different targets that Tom Cruise goes after. You know, you had
Right.
one that was up in Hollywood, you had one that was in downtown, you had one that was in Koreatown, you had one that was in Leimert Park, you know, that's kind of South Central. So you got kind of a flavor of the city as they were traveling around doing these hits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we're a tribe and have all these beautiful areas, like Chicago would just be buildings, like literally just buildings. Literally, you know, because nobody's walking around out there. Like that's very few people I saw during the winter walking around Chicago.
Oh, that's winter. I mean, every time, like my brother and I talk about this all the time when we go to a different city, because it's pretty much any other time is quite the opposite of that. Like I've been to pretty big cities in the Midwest besides Chicago, and every time I go, there's literally like no one outside. But if you go downtown Chicago, there's always people walking around, even after 10 p.m. There's traffic all the time. Like I was in Minneapolis a few years ago, or St. Louis, and
Misery.
yeah,
I said misery. Yeah.
yeah, and these cities will have, you know, pretty big buildings and stuff, not like crazy skyscrapers, but there's just like no one anywhere. Like I went to Cincinnati and I'm walking down there and there's no one, and it's crazy because coming from Chicago, the streets are usually always packed with people walking around. Maybe it's just, I don't know, on the weekends, and because a lot of people commute from the suburbs, of course, for jobs. But it just amazes me to see other cities that don't have that foot traffic. Yeah,
Right.
but the city's so big too. Like you go to parts of it and you don't realize that's the city still, because it's so huge. It's like we have the tribalistic parts as well, but I think a lot of it, the more populated areas, everything's so mixed that it's not like you know, especially when you get to central Chicago. But you have like your Humboldt Park is very Puerto Rican area. They have Puerto Rican flags everywhere, and you have Chinatown as well, which is right next to the convention center, right on the lake. But yeah, I'd say it's probably similar to what you guys are used to ethnically. Like the city was built on predominantly is a huge Mexican, Hispanic population, and like Polish. So like the neighborhoods my parents grew up in back in the day, like the old neighborhoods were Mexican and Polish neighborhoods.
Nice.
Is it because it's like a way station from farm labor? Like how does a Mexican population get that far north?
I don't know, but they're there, man. Yeah, that's
they can
huge in Chicago. Mexican, Hispanic.
They're industrious people, man. I even saw Mexicans in frickin' like Urbana, and I'm not talking about like some student. I'm not talking about some student kid. I'm talking about like, hey man, that guy could be my gardener. And yeah, it was like that type of Mexican. Only spoke Spanish, like that type of Mexican.
You
like
must be from Los Angeles. That guy could be my gardener.
yeah, exactly. Hey, the only kind of gardeners I ever have were either Jewish.
Jewish?
Yeah, our first gardeners were Israeli, because they left there in the 80s and had gotten out of wherever they were at that time, but they were Jewish, and they came here and started doing lawns, and they were really good. And then after that, after like 5th or 6th grade, it was all Mexicans from that point on, which is weird. Like
they started to kind of get it handed off to them from the Japanese in the 80s.
I didn't see the only Japanese person I went to school. I went to school with him. He was my friend. One of my first friends. His name was Jiro, and his dad was a manager of a hotel for Knott's Berry Farm. So, like, he wasn't doing any lawns. That guy spoke English really well for a Japanese person who was born in Japan. And yeah, so
they
so
were like I said, they were the Mexicans of the 80s and 70s. Were Japanese gardeners in L.A.
I bet you they did it right. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and then you could, if you were getting beat up by a bunch of alpha teenagers, you could run into one, and he could teach you, Okinawan karate, and you could defend yourself.
Miyagi-Do karate.
Yeah, especially after beating the shit out of your bike.
That's actually a really great thing. It would be awesome to run up to one and you get your ass beat anyways, and him go, "I don't know fucking karate."
But they killed a lot of Germans in the war, so there you go.
Yeah, they were hardcore. I think I'm good with this.
It's a few classic cars. Yes, Gordon, good brother. If you can meet one. I mean, he had a pretty cool property, Mr. Miyagi, out there. I don't know where it was. It seemed like he was out in, I don't know, Panorama City or some shit.
I don't know. Okay.
So, I mean, does the Lost Pages actually take place in Chicago?
A lot of the stories do. Yeah. Yeah, I think most of the characters are from the area. There's one character, Wildcard, who's a sorcerer, who's from Merlin times. But yeah, and in fact, in the second one the second book's all about the silhouette, and it takes place in the city. And I specifically put in the script kind of like landmarks that are recognizable or iconic. And in fact, there is a chase scene between El Dorado, the villain, and the silhouette. And I actually took screenshots of Google Maps for reference, because in my head I knew the road that they were going to go on. Lakeshore Drive is right, obviously, on the lake, but it goes in front of a bunch of iconic Chicago spots, like the Buckingham Fountain, which is this huge fountain that you could drive past and visit, and it also goes right past the Field Museum, which is right on the lake, and that's where the climax of the story takes place. They have a big fight in the Field Museum. So I got a bunch of reference images, Google Maps images, and kind of made markings on those JPEGs of where the cars would be for my artists that were drawing that, and got some cool shots in there too. So I wanted that to be kind of a character in that story, specifically the city.
Nice.
Was there any buzz? By the way, was there any buzz when they were doing all those Nolan films down there?
Oh yeah.
The city.
My family went down there during one, and they were filming at Lower Wacker Drive, which is like an underground roadway over there, and it's the famous chase scene from the second film. And yeah, we saw, I don't know if it was Christian Bale or a stuntman in the Batman costume, but you could see down the stairways, the metal stairways that they go to Lower Wacker. I was able to see some action going on while they were filming. Yeah, those were pretty big deals.
Nice.
And then I think they left for the third one. They didn't stick around for the third one.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't know where they went. I think they went to New York.
Ooh, fun.
Probably.
So is this true? Alex VRB says Upper Wacker Drives for PERs that like to do it above where everyone can see. Is that true, Phil?
I don't know about that. No idea.
What up, J-Bot? Welcome. Thank you for coming, and thank you for trying to rig the Wheel of Coom for Phil by suggesting Crimstone.
Thank you, J-Bot. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome.
There was actually a couple of Lost Pages suggestions, but none of them went out.
It would have been fine. I mean, whatever I have to draw, I suppose. Like, I have to fucking deal, right? So, it's good for me to keep like fucking drawing. So keep some type of momentum.
I got
You
to
gotta stay
keep
sharp.
fucking drawing.
Yeah, I mean, I know I sound like I'm just lamenting it, right? Like I'm just dying. Um and in some cases I kind of am. But I I really need to sometimes just work even when I don't want to.
Mm. Yeah.
And and if I'm not being hard on myself, then what the fuck am I learning at this point? And I'm totally not accomplishing what I should be doing. So I should be, you know, head to the grindstone. Nothing else matters. Uh, and I can, recently I've been easily distracted and it's kind of bothersome to me. So
Yeah, me
that,
too. I hear that.
that I'm getting distracted, and it's not even like to do anything that's worthwhile either, like peace of mind or any of that type of stuff. It's usually like mundane things that have to be done around the house or whatever. And if I
Tell me
put
about
them
it.
off, yeah, if I put them off, everything goes like to hell. Uh, so I just gotta fucking do it and just kind of make it all go and make things move, and it is what it is. But it's nice to sit down and kind of get out of my own head and do this. And even if it's forcing myself and I'm lamenting myself because I have to fucking draw something I really haven't drawn before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I get upset. It's like, what the fuck, guys? Like, I I'm not gonna make a banger the first time out. I know it. I have to just kind of like, sometimes I get lucky. Like
Like
I'll
last
think it
night.
I'll think it through. No, no. Like last night was because I went, oh, I should do something like Bill Sankovich, and oh, I can use his cover as reference. So that's easy to do. But to come up with something original, like, and nail it, or to think that I'm going to draw Rusty and the Big Guy like better than fucking Jeff Darrow, like I just have to settle, you know, for the
I
first
like
time
it.
thing, right? So, well, I I'm trying not to judge myself on it, but the reason I do is because uh, I lament the fact that I haven't worked out how to draw something out before I did it, because I didn't know. Like this would be like so real life. Sorry, you guys can't even see what I'm doing.
See, look.
You need to tell me.
There's the
Angela
hand,
Curry
yeah.
says, "I love it." There you go.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad everybody likes it, but it's it's more like a practice for me because I have to learn something on the fly that I've never done before, and try not to swipe him directly. At least I don't want to like totally swipe the guy. I want
I
to at
like it. I
least
like
make it.
that gripped hand quite a bit.
Yeah, it's his hands have those weird like knuckle things on them.
Mm-hmm.
They're all like, fuck you for saying this, Maromi. Like, look at all that shit I gotta put on there now. The hell? Fine, we're doing this.
So I gotta ask Phil, because
Go.
obviously we're doing comics, so everyone talks about comics that influence them, and that's pretty easy. And for you, it's very easy. I know who you're a fan of. Alan Moore being one, and Paramount, Swamp Thing being one of your favorites.
Mm.
But give me some movies. What are some films that are always in the back of your brain whenever you're working on something? Like, what's constantly influencing you?
I love Once Upon a Time in the West.
Ooh.
Very good.
and
You are judged
I mean,
less
very
now.
good.
amazing.
Yeah, you are judged less now, sir.
Yeah, I would have expected less of you, Phil.
Yeah, are we fucking brothers now?
I love that film, and it's funny because, I mean, I'd say it's my favorite Western film, but I also like my favorite film, like my number one favorite film, even though it is a Western, it's not my favorite Western film. Tombstone's my number one film just because it's a place in my heart. It's just so iconic and, reminds me of watching it for the first time. But Once Upon a Time in the West has that buildup and pressure and catharsis in
Are you
almost
talking about
like
the beginning?
well, I'm saying everything leading to the last gunshot in the film. The last shootout is just so, it's almost out of nowhere, but it pulls everything that you've just watched to a boiling point. And when you realize why Harmonica has done everything he's done in the film to get to this point.
Oh, are you talking about his flashback that he's having when he's
Yeah.
confronting Henry Fonda?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you've been seeing pieces of it for the whole movie.
Right. And then you actually realizing like that is a dragon that I chase in all the stories that I write, is like that feeling I get seeing that, realizing it for the first time, and then every time I watch it again and seeing why he is after this character for revenge. It's a gut punch, and it's everything I love about storytelling. Yeah, so I'm actually like you know that I've been working on this Western for a really long time, that I'm actually getting pages done now for. So I have a love for the genre. I'm really excited to explore and see what I could do with it in comics. I'm excited about that.
And well, going back to what you're saying about that thread that runs all the way through that movie, and because when you're listening to Ennio Morricone's soundtrack, you're hearing that harmonica,
So good, yeah,
all the way through it, and that's kind of like a little memory that's trailing after Charles Bronson, and you only see pieces of it, like from his POV of like Henry Fonda kind of walking up to the camera, but you don't see what he's doing. You just hear the harmonica, and you don't know why that harmonica is there. He plays one, but you just think it's his theme because he's been playing one the whole movie. But then, like you said at the end, it pays off when it finally turns the camera around and he's shoving it into his mouth.
Right. Yeah.
And then there's that, pan up, the crane up shot, and you could see that they're at like a gibbet, and they're all watching him with his brother on his shoulder, and probably more resonant for you because you have a brother.
Yeah, for sure.
Imagine your brother standing on your shoulder, some asshole making you kill your own brother, basically.
Right. Yeah, and that moment there is so many puzzle pieces falling into place and questions being answered. And then when I, reminisce on the story and think about it afterward, and think about the character of Harmonica and how stoic he's been through the whole film, and how much, conviction and strength that would take to do what he did in those situations, knowing what he knew and why he was doing it. That's the inspiring stuff that really.
And Cheyenne makes a great sidekick, because he's being imitated by Henry Fonda. Yeah, he doesn't like that shit that he's being imitated with the dusters. And Claudia Cardinale is pretty damn hot in the film.
Yeah, she was a looker.
So that would be your favorite. And then Tombstone you brought up was an interesting one. It's kind of a miracle that movie's as good as it is, considering its production history.
Right? Yeah, the directors changed, right?
Yeah, Kevin Jarre was kind of a prodigy screenwriter. He did his first film out the gate. His first produced screenplay out of the gate was Glory, which won an Academy Award for Best Picture. I think Best Screenplay. The one with the Civil War film about the first Black Regiment by Edward Zwick shot it or directed it. And so he was kind of like the whiz kid in Hollywood for a minute.
Yeah.
And his first writer-director job was Tombstone. You know, he wrote this film. He's going to direct it. And I think they got 3 weeks in. And I know he was addicted to heroin at the time and, you know, was having problems. That's what eventually killed him, was a heroin overdose. But they had to fire him, and they replaced him with George P. Cosmatos, who's basically just a yes man.
Yeah.
You know, because I think Kurt being the leader of the production was like, okay, Sly, you know, you got a suggestion? He's like, yeah, you know, just gonna use George. I mean, he just kind of did what I said on Cobra. He just, you know, just kind of does what you got to do. And if you ever watched I can't remember his name, but the guy who played Lex Luthor on Smallville, what do you know his name? Crager, the actor.
No.
God, he's got a great podcast.
He did Flash's voice in the Justice League series too.
But he's got a great podcast called the Inside of You podcast, and he had Michael Biehn on, who as you know played what's his name,
Johnny Ringo,
the one that Johnny Ringo, yeah, and he was talking about George P. Cosmatos. He's like, I fucking hate that piece of shit. I'm glad he's dead. He was just really vicious about him, and he kind of described him as Michael Rosenbaum. Thank you, Admiral Wackass. Great podcast. Anybody who's interested in kind of more, I didn't say nuanced, but human movie podcasts, put it that way. And he talks about George P. Cosmatos as being the worst human being imaginable, and how he was the kind of guy who would kind of shit rolls downhill sort of dude who would treat you like garbage if you're below the line, but if you're above him, he's going to kiss your ass, which explains probably why Sly's like, yeah, you know, use this guy, you know, why not? He just does what you tell him to do, you know. And he kind of just got the movie made and finished, but I think Kurt is the one who really directed the movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I heard that he really championed for it. Put a lot of work.
And I think what I mean he means is that he you know dictated, and George was the one who just shot the film essentially.
Yeah.
And they pulled out a masterpiece. And apparently there's whole sections of the movie missing that we have never seen out there somewhere in cans.
Wow. Who knew?
You see a lot of cowboys, man, and like there's a lot of name actors like God, man, I hate this time of night. I always lose names. Michael Rooker, like they've got whole subplots of all the cowboys that never made it in the movies.
Yeah, there's so many stars in that film that just have like small roles too. It's so weird. Yeah, like Rooker.
So you've got Tombstone, Once Upon a Time in the West. Anything else? Those are fine films, Phil. I'll give you that one. I'll give you A for taste.
Thanks.
You're being judged by what you say, so there you go. I guess.
Of course you are. We're always judging.
Oh, okay. Go. Not
you know what makes people tick.
I'm not judging, Phil. Go. You can say whatever you want.
I love The Mask.
Yeah.
I know you like The Mask. I know you're a big fan. Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Grew up on Jim Carrey. Love The Mask. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's a classic for me.
Nice. The original one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I watched the hell out of that.
Yeah.
I love Gene Wilder.
Yeah, Gene Wilder, amazing. I love the original. Was it 1930s Disney Alice in Wonderland? Watched the hell out of that.
Nice.
And love the books too. I got into those way later. I really love, and I hadn't seen this probably watch it for the first time 6 or 7 years ago. Manhunter.
Ooh.
Oh, very
There
good.
you go. There
And
you
I
go.
mean, I'm such a
Another
huge
Michael Mann film.
Yeah, I'm a huge Miami Vice guy because my dad was super into it.
Hence another
And,
Michael Mann. They made a lot of Michael Mann threads running through all this.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, when I saw Manhunter, I'm like, oh, this is freaking awesome. The
Nice.
music, the lighting, everything like that. I just had another one. Forgot it.
There's one. Well, Mia, go on. I'll go back to Manhunter. Go on.
I think, and I don't know if many people have seen this, but I thought that this is a really well executed film. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. You guys ever see that?
Yes, great dialogue.
Yeah.
There you go.
And it's Shane Black.
Shane Black. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think it's one of his best.
It was kind of the movie that sort of reintroduced everybody to Robert Downey Jr. after he got clean.
Yep.
Right before Iron Man, it was kind of announcing that he was back and he was ready for action. That Iron Man made him a superstar again. But this was like the intermediate movie from being, kind of an unreliable, uninsurable drug user to I'm back to work.
I'm back, bitches.
Yeah. And another one that's one of my favorites, has one of my favorite actors, Mickey Rourke, in it, is Angel Heart.
Yep. With Robert De Niro.
Yes. Yeah. And that's something too that like is something I strive to capture is a story like that.
Nice.
I always loved it.
I mean, go back to that. There's a great scene in there that always sticks out to me. Is it's very hard to kind of capture an epiphany as it's happening. It's a very difficult thing to do, and I think that's one of the few movies where an epiphany is caught perfectly. Where it's him, it's William Peterson, and oh God, I can't remember the other actor's name. He was in Snatch. He died recently, a couple years ago. I don't want to. You guys will know what I'm talking. He's in Get Shorty. He was an ex-cop who became an actor. Chat probably figured it out, but he's watching. He's trying to figure out who the Tooth Fairy is and how he's picking his victims. And
I forgot what movie.
The full moon is coming up. Dennis Farina, thank you. Dennis Farina's like, forget about it. Yeah, he's like, forget about it. It's a full moon. We'll have a jet standing by wherever he hits. We'll have it fresher than you ever have it. And William Peterson's like, fuck you, motherfucker. I'll take it as long as I want to fucking take it. And blah blah blah. And he's just watching this tape, and he knows he's missing something because Lecter's put it in his head that it's right in front of you, but I'm not going to tell you. You know what I mean? How he's picking them. And I don't know if you remember, but then it's like a shot behind the television up at William Peterson, and he kind of stops. Like, wait a minute. There's the dog has a collar, but you don't. It doesn't have a collar, but it's their dog. Wait a minute. There's a glass door, even though you can't see it from the street. And he started to kind of put it together in his head, and the music is kind of building up, and the camera's kind of pushing in on him as he's trying. And he's kind of, he doesn't know it, but he's getting there. Where he goes, wait a minute, you've seen these fucking tapes. Do you remember? You know what I'm talking about? But it's really cool because it's unlike the Red Dragon one, the Brett Ratner one, where he goes, you just saw. The moment is not really there because that's hard to get. Is somebody having that eureka moment? Right. Very difficult. Even in comics, it's almost impossible to have to illustrate a eureka moment. Where the character's putting it together in their head. Yeah, and that's one of my favorites is Manhunter.
Yeah, it's awesome. And they got a DeVita scene. This is so good, dude.
Oh yeah,
that's so awesome.
With who was Dollarhide in that film? Who played him? Is it? I can't remember who played Dollarhide in Manhunter.
Can't ask me anything.
Big dude.
Strong.
Yeah, he's super tall. It's crazy.
He was in Heat. He was in RoboCop 2. God damn it. He was the Ripper in Last Action Hero.
I don't know.
Dude, my names at this time of night always slip me.
I don't know.
Michael Mann loved Dennis Farina. He's a reoccurring character on Miami Vice. and
Yeah, because he would get a lot of his. He was one of the cops he was always interviewing for info. One of the Chicago cops he was always interviewing to get. Because Heat is actually a Chicago story,
right?
He just transplanted to L.A. You know, Neil McCauley was a Chicago bank robber, and Vincent Hanna was a Chicago cop, and their little showdown happened in Chicago, not in L.A.
Did you know that, Phil?
Yeah. My dad told me all about that.
Yeah, it's legendary stuff.
Michael Mann fan.
Tom Noonan, thank you, Admiral Wackass. Tom Noonan,
that's right?
Who's like semi-retired now. Your dad was a big movie buff?
Yeah. I mean, he's obviously a Chicago guy, but he's a huge Miami Vice fan. You know, watched it as it came out, and I don't even know if he realized a lot of the stuff that he liked was either directed or produced by Michael Mann, but it just so happened to be like he just loved that. And of course he'd see his name on Miami Vice, but yeah, he loved Heat, Manhunter, and some of the stuff that he didn't even know know that he was involved. He just loves that.
Did you guys like the new Miami Vice that he wrote and directed, Michael Mann?
I've never seen it, and I think my dad has seen it. I don't know his take on it.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, what did you think of it? Did you see it?
I saw it in the theaters, and then I saw it. I mean, it was one of those films that I saw, and because of the novelty of it, because it was shot on HD, it was one of the first movies in that bundle of movies after Attack of the Clones that was shot on HD. Because remember, he shot Collateral on HD too, which gives it that kind of cops look that Collateral has. And so was Miami Vice. And I thought it was a little off-putting at the time because they quite hadn't mastered how to make it look like a movie in terms of its frame rate. And a lot of people complained about that, where it looks like what they say, a soap opera look, because it's doing it at 30 frames as opposed to 24 frames, so it can there's no gaps in the action. We're used to that flicker of film. But I watched it recently, and I think what threw people off is how clinical it was, where Michael Mann can be. I'm trying to find the word. It's not necessarily about plot, but where his characters are finely honed instruments of their craft, where they can seem not human. But it's because we're seeing these characters in their element, in their environment, conducting their business. Whereas in something like Heat, you see their personal lives as well.
Yeah, the characters become really sterile. And
because there's no room for any of that in Miami Vice, because the whole film is about undercover work and the performance of undercover work.
Yeah.
Whereas in something like Heat, you get that professionalism, but then, for example, with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, you see their individual love lives. For example, the monk-like way that Robert De Niro goes about making sure he can dip out in 30 seconds flat, as he says, and then kind of sacrificing that to meet a woman, and Al Pacino's disaster of a marriage because he's a hunter, ironically always chasing these guys around the block, and he's sacrifices his own personal life to do that.
Right. Yeah, I always thought I never seen that new Miami Vice, so I don't know the story of that, but all the best Miami Vice episodes were the ones that were more personal, that had to deal with, either Sonny's ex-wife or, of course, Ricardo's brother, Tubbs's brother and stuff. And like that whole first pilot episode, like that story is so good, where Tubbs is pretending to be his brother who got killed in New York so he could come down to Miami to find the guy and kill, Calderon, who killed his brother. There were cops from New York, and that's how he winds up down in Miami. Like that, those family stories that are really heart wrenching are the best. The early stuff was really good for that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Admiral Wackass says, "I love Heat, but the ending was corny. He has a drop on him, and Duke can't put a round in him." I'm not sure I agree. Wait, do you agree, Phil?
I wouldn't say it's corny, but it's complex. I think it makes for a more complex ending.
There
You know,
we
I
go.
mean, I'm sorry, he did see him. I mean, because the lights lit up on the tarmac, he saw the bear movement. Remember, Vincent Hanna was a Marine, and he's also kind of, Al Pacino said that he kind of played him as though he's kind of chipping cocaine, which accounts for that performance. I kind of, switch between manic and calm that he's doing all through the film.
Yeah.
So
I haven't
he's kind
seen
of
the
chipping
movie
cocaine.
in years. I have not seen the movie in years.
It's very long.
Yeah. I bet so.
And also there was a I think there was a version of it that actually came out in the late 80s called LA Takedown. That was a TV movie to kind of like a proof of concept for the movie.
Oh, really? I heard that he's doing like a sequel. He wants to do Heat 2.
Yep. I read the novel, and I think that was another proof of concept that him and his co-writer put out the book.
Right.
And it was a huge bestseller, and they said, okay, well, people want it, then we're making a movie. And I guess it was a slick method to get financing for it, probably.
Yeah, I can see that.
So
yeah, I'm surprised they didn't do that with Fight Club 2, because he did that as a graphic novel.
I don't know, man.
Like 12 years ago.
That shit was weird. Did you read it?
I did not read the comic.
I fucking did. I bought it because I love Fight Club.
Yeah.
And I read it, and it really went into like Cornelius's psyche, and it had to do with like Marta and him having like a baby, and then the baby getting stolen, and them raising the new Messiah, and remember the girl in Fight Club who had cancer, and the last thing she wanted to do was like have sex. She survived, and she's in it, and she's helping run all these ops in other countries. And Tyler's gone.
Elena Bonham Carter's character?
No, I'm talking about the one Chloe. Her name's Chloe.
The cancer victim?
The cancer victim. Yeah.
She's dead, isn't she?
No, she's not in. No.
Not dead.
Not dead. Not. So, spoilers, sorry. But yeah, guys, like, it was really weird. It could have never been made into a film.
Was why it's probably a comic.
Which is, yeah, there was 2 and 3. There was 3 in all.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Also, you got to remember, guys, that Fight Club was a flop when it came out.
Yeah, I don't know why.
In retrospect, we think it was a hit, but it was actually a flop when it came out.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking amazing.
Huge hit on DVD, obviously on home video, and maybe that would, I don't know, get them to do. I mean, it's happened before. I mean, the Boondock Saints got a sequel because of it was a mega hit on home video, like a massive hit on home video.
I wish they would do that with Dread. I wish they would make a sequel for Dread.
Was Dread a flop?
Yeah, it did not do well in theaters because they build it as a 3D movie. Like, you go to the 3D and you get your 3D glasses and watch them at the IMAX or whatever.
Yeah.
So it bombed, but it did super well at DVD release.
I thought it was amazing.
And
yeah.
So how do you like the Danny Cannon version, the Stallone version?
I love that one too, man.
Me too. I do.
More cartoony, yeah. It's fun.
Don't fucking talk shit on that. That shit's
I mean,
awesome.
I've talked about this with you, Crager, that for these different variants of various films, it's nice to have something for every mood.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So
You know,
I
like for
love.
example, Payback, right? Payback, you can watch the gritty 70s exploitation version, the Hagelin cut, or you can watch the kind of comedic Mel Gibson vehicle, you know, for just kind of a rocking good time.
Right, yeah. You can
Also
just
another Chicago film, by the way, I think. Payback.
I just finished reading or listening to an audiobook, the last book of the Dark Tower series, which was a long
Yeah,
journey for
you
me.
spoke of that when we spoke last.
Yeah. So I finished that up, and that ending to that series is controversial between readers, but I quite enjoyed how it ended.
I mean, you and Craig are big Stephen King fans. I'm just never took a liking to him as a writer. I think his best one is Misery.
My girlfriend's a huge Stephen King fan, and she got me into The Dark Tower because she thought I would like it, and she was right. You know, all the subject matter. It's so crazy. Like when I read the first 3 books, I'm like, this is insane. Like this guy was doing this stuff. Like the first book, The Gunslinger, is from like 75 or something. And it's mind blowing to be like, he had the idea to take this cowboy character and push him through all these, basically the first multiverse. I mean, probably first popularized multiversal story that there was. And the stuff that he does is insane. Like there's a talking train and shit, and it's just so out there, but he makes it work. And the last 3 books, there's some sluggish areas, but I enjoyed the ending. After thinking about the ending for a little bit, like I actually really like that.
You're a big fan of these, right, Crager?
I am. I'm a big fan of his work. I really liked The Green Mile, and I liked it, and I liked a lot of his short stories that he did, like The Running Man, and yeah,
the
I like
Batman
all
books.
that. Yeah, I liked the stuff that he did. I liked the Doctor Sleep stuff.
I really enjoyed that film. I enjoyed the Doctor Sleep film.
Yeah, it was really good. Like they really thought about the whole Kubrick thing and was like,
so is it intended to be a sequel to the Kubrick film or to the book?
It's both. It's really cool.
He didn't think much of Kubrick, Stephen King.
No, I know, but that doesn't matter. It exists in the real world, right? So the Overlook if they didn't care what the Overlook Hotel looked like, you know, and it wasn't so iconic, then they wouldn't have used Kubrick's fucking film. So it has to be part of the Kubrick part of it too.
Yeah.
It's cool, man. I really liked it.
I have a friend who's a big movie guy. Like he went to film school and stuff. And so he loves The Shining, and he's never read any Stephen King. I don't know him to be a reader. And I was just I told him today that I finished The Dark Tower, and he said he loved Doctor Sleep, as such a fan of the film The Shining. And he's like, I'm gonna rewatch it in 20 years to see if I think it's better than The Shining, because it might be. It's like, wow, you really like that film.
It's good.
We could also probably agree that The Shining is very much a Stanley Kubrick movie more than it's a Stephen King adaptation.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Never seen it?
That's why Stephen King doesn't like it, I guess.
What was that?
Have you never seen it, Phil?
No, yeah, I've never read the source material.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
but I hear it's
Um,
quite different.
and I think Shining before or after Barry Lyndon, Crager? I think it's after Barry Lyndon.
It's after.
Yeah, so he had his like 0.5 f-stop lens that he got from NASA and could achieve
Yeah.
some of that natural light.
He did some cool shit, like in those movies. They were really thought out well.
Well, especially when
Uh,
when they were doing a lot of that daylight stuff in The Shining, and he's got that whole wall of that big room where he's writing of the with the windows, and
uh-huh.
he's got like a whole wall of light out there, but it achieves that cold light, that cold white light. You know what I'm talking about? It's not just white; it's like a blue diffusion of sunlight that only cold can give you. Like a
Yeah.
cold, like snow. You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about, Phil, where it's that diffused sunlight that comes
Yeah.
through snow and
Mhm.
haze, and it's quite beautiful in The Shining whenever they're going through that hall, that area where Jack Nicholson is writing his insanity.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you guys ever look at the Marvel Dark Tower stuff that Jay Lee did?
I did.
Let's have
That
a look.
stuff was nice. Jay Lee's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he's a badass. He did a remark for me last year. I saw him at a
Oh,
convention. A little Roland remark.
Oh, that is a nice remark too.
Yeah,
That is a substantial remark.
yeah.
nice.
And the art in here is crazy.
How long did it take him to do that for you?
I left him the book for probably like an hour, but he had a stack of stuff, so he got to it when he got to it. I didn't watch him do it, because he was working on other stuff. But this is when he was like doing his very own Jay Lee style.
Yeah, that stuff's great.
There's some great parts of the original stories.
Is this Jay Lee? Oh, the whole book?
Yeah.
He's kind of got like a Kelly Jones style now. I haven't seen any of his stuff in many years. It looks like Kelly Jones now.
Let me find here. This is the splash of the Crimson King.
Yeah, it does have sort of a very rendered Kelly Jones-ish look. You know what I'm talking about, Crager? If you look at it,
Yeah,
it's a little bit of charade in there too.
It's super stylistic. I wouldn't say charade. I would just say he does a lot of shots from the side, and they're heavily like shadowed.
Like a Bradstreet influence, maybe.
I mean, it can be. It's a more stark contrast. It's just a more refined version of him doing that hell shock stuff.
Yeah.
I missed when he was ripping off Bisley.
Yeah, that hell shock stuff was, and the stuff that he did for what was the other one? God damn it.
Good Lord, Phil, you have the longest fingers imaginable. That was like a face hugger crawling up the page.
You just made me draw a funny line because you made me laugh.
Well, it's like these fingers are crawling up the page. I'm like, is Phil about to get impregnated?
New Aliens coming out.
Ooh, yeah, Romulus.
That is
true. Let's see. Gordon says his favorite movie is Dr. Strangelove. That's a great pick. That's actually a good question to ask both of you. I mean, I know Crager's favorite Kubrick is Lyndon, I think, in Clockwork Orange.
Yeah,
believe,
it's,
right?
it's Lyndon and Clockwork Orange because I like Lyndon because of like how gnarly he was. Like he was committed to it looking like a period piece, and he made that
like a
happen.
17th century painting. Yeah.
Yeah, and I adore any human being that tries to do something like that. Like that's the most insane prospect. But by all means try it. Let's do it. And it worked and it was beautiful. I could care less what the story's about.
You just like looking at it.
I like looking at it a lot. Like it's just beautiful. It's like it was meant to just be looked at. It was never meant to like inform you of anything other than life is kind of like takes weird turns and is shitty sometimes. Yeah, we already know that. We're watching this fucking incredibly long movie, fucking you bastard. But it's
And we're
beautiful.
watching this incredibly long drawing because of all the stamped straight lines.
Yeah, and I can't look away. And it's just beautiful. So
Is this
yeah,
Moromi's?
yeah,
Yeah, you prick. You know, all the straight lines.
yeah.
And you
Yeah.
said Clockwork Orange, right, Phil?
Yeah, probably. I've been watching it in a long time, but I should watch it with my girlfriend because
I mean,
she really
love-
likes Kubrick.
The
I
Shining.
probably have to
was
say Barry
amazing.
Lyndon as well. And for people who are initiating the chat, the reason why Barry Lyndon is kind of a novel film is what we mentioned earlier, that he shot a bit for NASA, and in exchange they gave him access to this film by Nikon. This not film, but this lens by Nikon that NASA had specially commissioned to shoot the stars, and it had a 0.5 f-stop, which is half a stop lower than the fastest lens available to movies. And he got these amazing old BL cameras from Warner Brothers that they used to shoot rear projection with, but they're like, old Ferraris, like Studebakers, these beautifully built machines that they don't make anymore. And he got two of them, and he dedicated one camera to just fit this lens. They had to completely wreck the camera to get this lens on, so it was dedicated. But the result, when you watch Lyndon, is now you have this zoom lens with this 0.5 camera that kind of flattens everything out into this beautiful painting. And if you watch Lyndon, a lot of the scenes start off in like a close-up, and they zoom out into a master, and you get this beautiful set or vista that looks like a painting, right? Like in the beginning, the first shot is Lyndon Barry, engaging in that duel. Is it? Yeah, with that duel with the captain, I believe, and they start out close on the two of them facing each other, and they zoom out, and because they're zooming out, you're getting a wider angle lens, and you get this beautiful, like, it takes place in Ireland, but it looks like an Austrian landscape. It looks like a painting. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous, and the whole movie is like that, just sumptuous to the eyes.
Right. And it sucks what happens to Barry in the end, but he'll be okay.
I mean, he did miss on purpose and get shot.
It is true. It is true, but he'll be okay. I think losing his standing was the worst part of that, right?
Yeah,
like,
because it is about this kind of callow youth trying to find his way up.
Yeah, it was about him losing his standing, even though he was kind and did a kindness, right? That motherfucker still shot him. Yeah, because fucking, vengeance is vengeance, I suppose.
I mean, the guy did come in and like totally run roughshod over his entire family. What he's just this kind of adventurer rogue who kind of muscled his way and slithered his way into his mom's bed after his dad died. I think he wasn't very happy with that.
That is true, but now he has to be taken care of for the rest of his life. He has a cripple.
And with that 0.5, you're able to achieve through candlelight. You don't have to fake it in that film. You get real candlelight. And it's like I said, it's a movie you can just watch. You don't have to actually listen to.
Yeah, it really, just turn down the fucking volume to nothing. And seriously, just look how beautiful it all is. And imagine, at the time when they shot that shit, they did it practically in an awesome way, and there was very little diffusion going on. Everything was candlelit or daylight coming through some windows that they diffused shit with, and it's just the most beautiful, beautiful thing.
It was Phil supposed to mention American Psycho, Angela? Like, what is the connection here, Phil?
Yeah, I guess I didn't mention it. I like that movie. I think it's a good film.
Just a favorite of yours? Like, why would she mention it? Like, do you talk about it a lot in your streams?
I guess so. Yeah, my brother and I really enjoy the film.
That's pretty good.
I think it's hilarious.
It's very dark comedy, satirical. I mean, the novel's a parody of the 80s.
I think because Bateman's so gay.
Yeah.
I love the unreliable narrator aspect of it. I thought that what they were able to accomplish with the film was really cool. And yeah, I think it's a fun film.
Mary Herron, right? Directed it. The lady who directed the biopic
female
of
director.
what was it? Biopic of Betty Page. Yeah, the notorious Betty Page, and Guinevere Turner wrote it. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, really?
Guinevere Turner did the screenplay.
Amazing.
So lesbian screenwriter and a hetero female director.
It's so quotable. I think I read the book too, but I read it at a time that I didn't really probably didn't really digest this well. But it's yeah, it's so good.
The eternal meme, the Patrick Bateman eternal meme.
Yeah.
There's one scene in there that makes me chuckle every time he goes to kill the dweeb that he hates a lot because he showed him the business card and he got all pissed off. So he follows him to the bathroom. He puts on his gloves and he's reaching behind him with trembling, angry hands. And the guy turns around and starts like kissing up on him. He's like,
"Oh, Patrick,
I thought like, oh, why here?" And he starts washing his gloves.
Yeah. Return some videotapes.
The fact that he was like so repulsed by another man taking interest in him or thinking he's anything besides a heterosexual, he just like washes off the PHILL off his gloves.
Your compliment was sufficient, Lewis. So good.
The whole God, man, I'm trying to think through it, especially his little soliloquies he gives you about all the bands
those are in the book and they're full chapters. Like those analysis of whatever musician he would do, those are full chapters in the book. Like him talking
and it
about
sounds like
Diana
something
Ross
he read and is regurgitating. Like he read it in like I don't know some kind of review magazine.
Yeah,
He's
like
just regurgitating
it. Yeah.
Because hey Matt, Matt LaRock, welcome, my friend.
Yo.
Thank you for showing up, buddy.
What's up, Matt?
Because the impression I get of Patrick Bateman is that he's not there's nothing unique about him. There's nothing. He's a blank slate. He's a narcissist. Everything's a cipher with him. He's trying to be the star of his own porn movie. He's trying to be the star of his own horror movie. Like everything he takes from media. He doesn't like come up with anything on his own. He's psychotic.
He has no of his personal thoughts, and he says it in the limo ride to his girlfriend, and I forget the question she asked him, but he's like, "I just want to fit in."
Yeah, she's like, "You own the company anyway. You can do whatever you want."
Yeah, and that's a sentence that
it's like this
sums him up pretty well.
I want to fit in.
Yeah.
The way he does it when he puts the earphones back on.
Yeah. He's listening to Robert Palmer. So good.
Yeah. Trying to listen to the new Robert Palmer tape, and my fiance keeps yabbering on in my ear. And they go to a spas, right, where the menus in Braille. And he gives that bullshit speech about ending world hunger and slowing down the arms race and goodwill towards man and equality for women.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the most bullshit speech you could possibly imagine. But we have to slow down the nuclear arms race. We have to provide food. He doesn't believe any of that because remember, the only real emotion he has, like he said, is disgust.
Yeah.
It's a pretty interesting character study.
You stink of shit.
Why don't you get a job, Al?
Get a fucking job. Did he say fucking job or he said, get a job, Al?
Okay. How did I do so far, guys?
I think awesome, it's beautiful.
Yes. Kick ass.
Are you gonna throw in any ink later or any
pew pew? I mean, there's other stuff I could throw in there. like some shadows and stuff. Like right now, it's kind of, bottom of the barrel, I suppose.
Ready for animation.
Oh my god, did you say bleachy, Crager?
Bleachy? No.
You can only get these sheets in Santa Fe.
I don't know that reference.
Crager, did you read the Dark Tower books?
I only read some of them, but I read the comics. They were fun.
There's some great moments with Roland in there that are just like character moments that stick in my head, where it's kind of like the Once Upon a Time in the West ending moment, where
Right.
it just makes you as a reader understand the character and like shows the humanity of the character that really stick with me. So some good stuff in there.
Yeah, I probably should. So I don't have time to like sit down and read as much as I'd like, although I do read. I rarely get to sit down and like read like novels, shit like that, or and to be quite honest, I think the last novel I read was the Strain series. I read them all, like all three books in a row.
Yeah.
Like just
Did they ever finish that TV series? Did they ever finish it?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. But I do think it was awesome. So I read the books, and the books were fucking rad.
See, look,
And
everyone's loving what you're doing, by the way.
I like
Love
it.
Crager's piece. Really captured the style of the original designs. Astro looking good. Moromi says, this is fantastic.
Oh, well, that's nice.
And Moromi answered the question. The series didn't end. It just seemed like it had all this hoopla, and then the public kind of forgot about it.
What were you talking about?
You were talking about the
Strain.
books. Sorry how I interrupted you.
Oh, yeah, the books. What books? Which books?
The Strain.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I read those three novels. The series, the television series, never got resolved. It was different than the novel. The novels, the three of them, were pretty ambitious. Like, they had some pretty crazy shit going on. They wanted to like drop nukes because one of the nests for the elders was like here in America. So, but pretty much the vampires had taken over already, and humans had kind of gone underground. So it really fell apart quickly. They tried to depict that in the show. But it's really hard to show how fast it really went downhill, like it did in the books. The books were fucking just gnarly. It was within like literally everything fell apart in like 18 months. Like, and everything started to. It literally became like where they were putting humans in little camps to use to feed themselves and shit. That's how far the books went. I don't think they got that far in the series. I think they were working their way towards the collapse, though, for sure.
In the series, you could tell that they were really trying to be clever with their budget. So even though it's kind of like what they did with Escape from New York, right? Where they had that little stretch of St. Louis that burnt down, and they tried to contain it in there for New York to look like it's supposed to look. You kind of got that feeling with the Strain TV series where they're trying to give you the impression that there's this citywide apocalypse going on,
right?
But they didn't have the money to really make it look like The Walking Dead makes Atlanta look.
Yeah,
overgrown, dilapidated.
It was amazing, though. I liked it. I thought it was rad.
Yeah, Moromi says they had the show had camps and buses to slaughterhouses.
Yeah, it was gnarly. It was really cool. I liked it. They and it fell apart quickly. I like the way it started, like in an airplane. And literally, what they're moving is the coffin that Dracula's in, and the whole plane's asleep, kind of. Well, they're taken over already. They're all vampires, so it's like a vampire nest.
They've been excreted on.
Yeah, they're gonna go back to their families. They have this thing that makes them want to go back to their families, like their nest, and then just eat their children and their husband so that they can become vampires too. And it like perpetuates that way. It's really cool. I liked it.
Which is in the TV series. That happens.
It's been a long time since I actually like read the books. Like, I think it was 12 years ago.
And what is this Babe of the Week thing, Phil? What are we talking about here?
What about it?
I don't know. Somebody said Phil puts us in Babe of the Week camps.
Yeah, we just do a Babe of the Week poll on our Monday streams at the end of them.
And who won today?
Some Australian chick, Ella, what's her name? Servetto. It used to be celebrities, but now it's just like random women that people find online that they message me.
We probably run out of celebrities.
Bring back the hot girls that people know. For a really long time it was Selma Hayek.
It's like every week it's just Selma Hayek.
It was. I mean, from maybe a year straight, it was Selma Hayek.
Yeah, I'll probably
a particular period of Selma Hayek.
It doesn't matter. She's still smoking.
Yeah, it's true. You don't even have to say like what era of like she's Selma fucking Hayek.
Well, tell us how you really feel, Admiral Wackass. She has apparently fine assets, according to Admiral Wackass.
Right. Yeah, she does.
Yeah, she's good. So,
all right. Let's have a look. Let's see. Let's make it big.
I'll probably put some zip on it or something at some point.
Oh, that'd be dope.
What do you think, Moromi?
Nailed it.
So it's Moromi's. I'm gonna write that on.
I believe, right? Was it Moromi? Yeah, it was Moromi.
Yeah. Moromi.
Angela Curry says I recommended Frumpy Salma, but he hasn't taken it. So there is a prejudice towards a period.
Moromi. Hey, do you want to show? I don't know if I can show it.
What?
It's too big to show. I can't show it on.
It's not a part of your anatomy, is it?
No, the drawing that I did last night of Michael from Meathead. But
why can't you show it? Why is it too big?
It's just too big, and it's all pencils and.
It was so good though.
It is, but it's like a Bill Sankovich swipe.
I want to see it.
I mean, we could end on that.
We can try. Let's see. Okay, hold on. Oh, I'll just hold it up. See if we can. See, it's not.
Oh shit!
Okay.
So yeah, that is Michael Yan Wang. He is the villain of the piece, and in his sights is old Joe. And we gave him that villain gun that we swiped from Hard Target. The one shot.
Yeah, I gotta
weapon.
I gotta ink this thing.
Please
do.
It
it's totally Bill Sankovich swiped. But hey, Phil, how well do you know
Bill Sankovich?
No, not Bill Sankovich.
I don't.
Simon Beasley.
I know him.
You know him. He did
talk to him on the phone.
Oh, nice.
A few times.
So, how do I get him to do me a Jawbone death piece? Go to a con. Yeah,
there's two ways. How I got my cover from him. My first cover is I hit up his art rep.
Fair enough.
Which you could do that. A buddy of mine got me in contact with his art rep. And then I I had met him years ago when I was young at a convention. And then after I came out with the first Lost Pages and had the cover, and I went to a fan expo over here. Actually, Wackass in the chat was at the expo with me, and he got his book signed by Simon that year. And so then I hung out at his table, and he remembered the cover he did. And he liked Krim and stuff, and he's like, "Oh!" And he gave me his WhatsApp number, and then he called me like a week later and stuff.
And in Britain, right?
Crazy surreal. Yeah, but like summertime, every other week he's like in the States for conventions because he runs the circuits, and he's going to like Lake Como Con. He goes to cons in Spain and Europe and stuff. So he a lot of the year he's on the road. But
my art rep wants me to go to Como because sometimes she goes there.
Yeah.
And so
I hear it's good. And Simon's been going for the last few years over there.
It's keep any of that art?
It's very hoitsy-toitsy.
Yeah. I can imagine. But yeah, then he started calling me and being like, I want to draw that character again and stuff. And it's pretty cool. So, and then I went to go pick up the original art in.
Okay, so you have it. You have some of that.
Motor City. Yeah. I have both covers that he did for me. I only have one framed though. I need to get he draws on like A4 or whatever. So it's like a weird frame that I have to get because it's a European size art. But I picked it up from him, and so we probably talk every 3 months now. But I can see if I can get the hookup for you.
Yeah, give him a call. Tell him to give me a call.
Yeah.
So
he would have been cool to have on this Psycho Slumber thing. See what he would have done with that.
Yeah, I had him do a Kelsey Shannon's character Shank. He's doing this book. Yeah, and I had him do that. He dug the character, so I mean, I would imagine that he would dig Jawbone Death. He loves those high tea
ideal biz character.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's why he's like, when he wanted to do the cover for this previous Lost Pages with Crimstone and Jazz, he really liked the character because he loves those high tea characters that are really unapologetic and throwback to the heavy metal stuff, because he's very like our mindset of comics where everything is very toned down and PC now. And he's like, DC can't do Lobo unless they hire me because I'm the only person that knows how this character should be, So he had that
British metalhead,
right? That high octane, speak your mind type attitude. So I think Jawbone does it right up his alley.
Gordon says, Phil, have your people call Crager's people. You guys are so bougie.
Yeah, please. I would love to speak to him about that and see what it would take to get it done.
I'll send him pictures of the book too.
I assumed as much. He's probably very nice, probably exhausted by being his age.
Yeah, I just saw him at Heroes Con, and it's so funny because I didn't have a table at Heroes Con, and my buddy Joe Catapano hooked me up with a spot sitting next to him, and his table was right behind, like around the corner from Disney.
Nice.
And so like I could have, touched him from where I was sitting, and he's like, "Oh shit, you're here," and stuff. And he grabbed some of my books, the ash cans that I had. He's like, "Oh, let me take these. I want to read them." And it was so funny seeing him. And it's hilarious because Saturday morning, or was it Saturday or maybe Friday? And I'm like, "Oh," he seemed tired. He's like, stand up. I got to stretch my legs. I'm like, "Oh, were you out drinking last night?" It's like, "No, I don't drink anymore." I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, I'm sober. I'm not doing anything now." So I'm like, that's crazy, but awesome for him that he did that. So he's like, "Yeah, I can't." He's like, "I stopped steroids and drinking, and
Steroids.
Yeah. And he's like, I couldn't do that shit anymore. It's like, so I'm getting clean, and then I'm gonna start lifting again so I could build all my mass back naturally.
He
Like,
did
that's
look
fucking awesome.
skinny in a picture that I saw him recently, and I was wondering if he was just like, doing better. But the fact that he said I had to stop taking steroids.
That's what he told me, which is weird because he told me a story the first time I had a phone call with him, and he's like, we were talking about lifting or something, or it came up, and he's like, oh, I did steroids once, and my buddy stabbed me in the ass with the syringe, and the next day I rolled my ankle, so I couldn't work out for like 2 weeks. And my buddy calls me up, and he's like, hey, how'd those roids work? He's like, I don't know, I've been on my ass this whole time because I haven't been able to lift. I hurt my ankle. So
there's something to be said about British artists where they tend to go really hard. British comedians are kind of diffused and sort of like well, excuse me, but the actors, there's actually a whole generation of British actors called the shit kickers. That's like Peter O'Toole, Oliver Reed, Richard Harris, where these motherfuckers are like just knocking back booze before they go on and do like Richard III, and they were like fucking shit faced, but they could do it. Yeah, and they would be like do their scene and be perfect, and they come off and they'd be knocking back like 9 beers. And I think it's like the same thing with comics, like Bisley and like Adrian Smith, or all these fucking like crazy ass rockers who want to jump on a Harley and ride the open plain, even though they live in the green shithole that always rains.
Well, yeah, it's great. Well, he had that lifestyle too. I mean, he's super good friends with Danzig, and he's done so much stuff for him and Kevin Eastman. Yeah, well, and with Kevin Eastman too. I mean, Kevin Eastman lived that rock star lifestyle when he's the guy that bought a tank with his Ninja Turtles money.
And he was married to Julie Strain, so
right,
that's kind of winning.
Julie Strain, and Bisley was over painting Julie Strain all the time, and it's just like, imagine the stories this guy has, and he's got them, and it's so cool because I kind of have a, I guess, working relationship, kind of a friendship with him now, and it's insane. Like I'm buddies with Doug Mankey, who co-created the mask, and I talk to him all the time on Instagram. And he's another guy that's like a hardcore weightlifter, like he does like power training and stuff like that. But it's interesting to see these guys that draw crazy heavy metal characters and superheroes and big muscles, and they're into bodybuilding, that connection with, like, Rob Willis. You see that with freaking Kyle Hotz and even Greg Capullo.
And Rob Willis is one of those dudes. That's Young Life.
That's true.
Yeah. Now he's all like, I got to be in bed by 8 o'clock.
I don't think Kyle Hotz is taking steroids. I just think he's like a lean, tall gentleman that is.
He's jacked though. I've seen that guy.
Hey, Ink, how you doing, man? We got to get you rescheduled, buddy. Sorry about that, postponement we had.
Yeah, unfortunately, like we're pushing 2 hours right now, so we're gonna have to figure out something for you, Ink Spots. So don't be angry. We'll make it special. I'll
yes,
rub your
please.
nipples. Yeah.
Yes.
I miss you.
Just like the Night Slimer, get you going like the Night Slimer.
Yeah, we'll make it beautiful, man. So it'll be
awesome. One wants to know, why are you not on your show, Phil?
Yeah.
It's over. I did it an hour early today so I can make this show.
Yeah.
You missed it.
See?
Awesome when you were there. You were in the show. You were in the chat.
And look, it's Dan Flegel at the end of it. I'm taking steroids, not quite jacked, but I'm totally into bodybuilding.
Yeah, yeah, and nipple rubs for sure. So, hey guys,
you're a scum monkey, but you are Scum Monkey, Inc.
Speaking of nipple rubs, we're going to be ending the show right now.
Aww.
Okay.
So,
good night, everyone.
Sorry, guys. It's good night time. So, anyways, Draw Comics.
Like having sex and having cold water dropped on you.
Yeah, sorry. Well, thank you, Phil, for coming on. By the way, you're amazing.
You, Appreciate it.
Thanks. No, thanks for having me,
man. This was great. And to the winner, Moromi. Fucking A, man. Made me draw something cool. Thank you so much. So
thank you all.
Yeah, for comics' sake, have a good night.
Good night.